The science of language. How we learn and use language. Hi there, and welcome to our video about the science of language. Have you ever stopped to think about how we learn and use language? Well, today we're going to explore the fascinating world of linguistics and uncover some of the secrets behind the way we communicate. Part 1. The basics of language. Let's start with the basics. What is language? How do we define it? We'll talk about the different components of language, such as speech sounds, grammar, and syntax. We'll also discuss how language differs from communication and why it's such an important part of human society. Language is a complex system that humans use to communicate with each other. It is a fundamental part of human society and plays a crucial role in our everyday lives. But what exactly is language? How do we define it? In linguistic terms, language can be defined as a set of symbols and rules that allow us to communicate with each other. One of the key components of language is speech sounds. These are the individual sounds that make up words and sentences. There are over 100 different speech sounds in the English language alone, and each one is produced by manipulating the vocal tract in different ways. For example, the sound P is made by closing the lips together, whereas the sound S is made by pushing air through a narrow opening between the tongue and the roof of the mouth. Another important component of language is grammar. This refers to the set of rules that govern how words and sentences are put together to create meaning. Grammar includes things like word order, verb tense, and the use of pronouns. Without grammar, it would be very difficult for us to communicate effectively with each other. Syntax is another key component of language. It refers to the way that words are arranged to create sentences. Syntax is important because it allows us to convey meaning more effectively. For example, the sentence, "The cat chased the dog," has a very different meaning from "The dog chased the cat," even though the words are the same. It's important to note that language is not the same thing as communication. Communication refers to the act of conveying information from one person to another, whereas language is the system that we use to do this. While language is certainly an important part of communication, there are many other factors that can affect the effectiveness of communication, such as body language and tone of voice. Part 2. Language acquisition. Next, we'll delve into the science of language acquisition. How do we learn to speak and understand language as babies? What are some of the theories behind language acquisition, and how have they changed over time? We'll also talk about the critical period hypothesis and whether it's true that it's harder to learn a new language as an adult. Language acquisition is the process by which humans learn to speak and understand language. Babies are born with the ability to perceive and distinguish between speech sounds, but they have to learn the rules and patterns of their native language in order to use it effectively. So how do we acquire language, and what are some of the theories that explain this process? One of the earliest and most influential theories of language acquisition is the behaviorist theory. This theory suggests that language is learned through a process of imitation and reinforcement. According to this theory, babies learn to speak by imitating the sounds and words that they hear from their parents and caregivers. When they produce a sound or word that is similar to what they have heard, they receive positive reinforcement in the form of praise or attention. Another theory of language acquisition is the nativist theory, which suggests that humans are born with an innate capacity for language. According to this theory, there is a specific part of the brain, called the language acquisition device, which is responsible for processing language. The nativist theory also proposes that all human languages share certain universal grammar rules, which are hardwired into the brain from birth. In addition to these theories, there is also the critical period hypothesis, which suggests that there is a specific window of time during childhood when language acquisition is most effective. According to this hypothesis, if a child does not learn a language before the age of puberty, they may never be able to master it fully. While the critical period hypothesis is still somewhat controversial, there is some evidence to suggest that early exposure to language is important for effective language acquisition. So what about learning a new language as an adult? Is it really harder than learning a language as a child? While it is certainly true that children have an advantage when it comes to language acquisition, adults can still learn a new language with time and practice. In fact, some research suggests that adults may actually have an advantage in certain aspects of language learning, such as vocabulary acquisition and metalinguistic awareness. Part 3. Language and the brain. Moving on, let's explore the relationship between language and the brain. What parts of the brain are involved in language processing, and how do they work together to allow us to understand and produce language? We'll also touch on the topic of language disorders and how they can affect our ability to communicate. Language processing in the brain involves several regions that work together to understand and produce language. The two main areas associated with language are Broca's area and Wernicke's area. Broca's area, located in the left hemisphere of the brain, is responsible for the production of language, while Wernicke's area, located in the posterior part of the left temporal lobe, is responsible for language comprehension. In addition to these two areas, there are several other regions of the brain that are involved in language processing. For example, the arcuate fasciculus is a bundle of nerve fibers that connects Broca's area and Wernicke's area, allowing for the transfer of information between the two regions. The angular gyrus, located in the parietal lobe, is also involved in language processing, particularly in the processing of written language. Language disorders, or aphasia, can occur when there is damage to one or more of these areas involved in language processing. Broca's aphasia is a type of language disorder characterized by difficulty with language production, while Wernicke's aphasia is a type of language disorder characterized by difficulty with language comprehension. Other types of aphasia include global aphasia, which involves both production and comprehension deficits, and conduction aphasia, which involves difficulty repeating words and sentences. In addition to aphasia, there are other language disorders that can affect communication. For example, dyslexia is a disorder characterized by difficulty with reading, while dysgraphia is a disorder characterized by difficulty with writing. These disorders can have a significant impact on an individual's ability to communicate effectively. Despite these challenges, the brain has a remarkable ability to adapt and reorganize after injury or disease. Through a process known as neuroplasticity, the brain can reorganize itself and form new connections in response to changes in the environment. This means that individuals with language disorders can often make progress through therapy and rehabilitation, and in some cases, may be able to regain their ability to communicate effectively. Part 4. The future of language. Finally, we'll look ahead to the future of language. What does the future hold for the way we communicate? Will technology change the way we use language? How might language evolve over time? We'll explore these questions and more. As technology continues to advance, it's likely that the way we communicate will continue to evolve. For example, voice recognition software is already changing the way we interact with technology, allowing us to speak to our devices and receive responses in real time. This technology may eventually be integrated into other areas of our lives, such as our homes and workplaces, further changing the way we use language. Another area of technology that may impact language in the future is artificial intelligence, AI. As AI becomes more advanced, it may be able to understand and respond to language in more complex ways, allowing for more natural and human-like interactions. This could have a significant impact on the way we communicate with machines and each other. Language itself may also evolve over time, as it has throughout history. New words and phrases are constantly being created, and the meanings of existing words may shift or change. For example, the word tweet used to refer only to the sound birds make, but now it's commonly used to refer to a message on Twitter. Another way language may evolve is through the influence of globalization. As people from different cultures and languages come into contact with each other, they may begin to adopt each other's words and phrases, leading to the creation of new hybrid languages. Conclusion. So there you have it, a brief overview of the science of language. We hope you've learned something new and fascinating today. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos about language and linguistics. Thanks for watching.